This is Kytana Lee. She is actually one of my students when I was a graduate student teaching at LSU. She's always made really great work, and she has continued on to now do a range of different things that I don't even fully visa. Away.
Okay, I will share my screen because I made a PowerPoint. And I'm gonna just preface this by letting you all know I'm very bad at PowerPoints. But yeah, I am Kytana. You can find my socials here. I'm a Vietnamese American. Let's see, what am I? I'm a multimedia designer, UX designer, engineer. I illustrate stuff and I make video games on the side sometimes. So I'm a UX engineer, multimedia designer at Visa. Not like Visa's coming into the country, but like, I guess your credit card, yeah. Which is not something that I expected to do. I went to school for digital art, so I did lots of 3D modeling, lots of animation, video game type oriented things, but I just so happened to be here and it's honestly really fun. What I do includes making low fidelity and high fidelity wireframes, mockups, and prototypes. It's very focused on human-based design, accessibility. It's based on having empathy for your users. So we end up doing lots of user research and usability testing. And what that means is that we make sure that all of the things that we're doing is based on how we think people will react to these things. And then making sure that all of the products that we make are accessible to people with low vision and motor disabilities and things like that. So it's all about designing products with humans at the forefront and making sure that we really empathize with other people and not just like based on our own assumptions. So there's lots of research and testing involved in this field, and it's actually super fun. And honestly, I didn't know what UX was when I first got here, and it's way different than what it was marketed to me as in school. But yeah, I also do like filming and I edit videos and sometimes I animate. I also do some graphic design network, although I'm not good at it. And I also do front-end development, but I can't share anything I make yet because NDAs. And then this is what like a wireframe would look like. It's very boring, but it's what it would look like. So I graduated in 2018 with a BFA in digital art at Louisiana State University. Like Robyn said, she was one of my teachers. I think I made this one in your class, actually, the lithograph on the right.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
Yeah, lithography was my favorite. I almost got a print minor. It was super fun. I miss printmaking. I wish I had a studio now. The one on the left was from my student film I did for my thesis, which I kind of rushed on because I did it in like 7 weeks. I did like a short film, and this is one of the backgrounds for it. Yeah, so when I was a student, I was really lucky to be able to work on Samurai Jack season 5's promotion animation that played before the premiere at the Ace Hotel in California. And then I also did help with the animation. It was like a laser animation for the 2017 Adult Swim Upfront party, which was super cool. Didn't get invited to the party, but very cool. I had some part of it, which was also a great learning experience. The animation industry is so like, I don't know. It was very fun. It was a very fun experience, and it was really fun working with Adult Swim for both of those things. And to have like Gendy Tartakovsky be like, wow, so cool. I also interned at a VR studio in Baton Rouge. It was a indie company called King Crow Studios, and I can't show you anything because of NDAs, but that was also fun. Did lots of 3D modeling for them and like graphic design for marketing purposes, which was also super cool. But yeah, it took me 6 months after graduation to find a job. So, and I know, like, as you guys are students right now, it's very kind of probably uncertain, and I totally feel for you guys. So I would say don't fret. It's going to be okay. Post-grad, I worked as a barista for 6 months in New Orleans. And during that time, I applied for art galleries. So this one right here is for Light Gray Art Lab in Minnesota. This is for their small art for big cause show, and the money went to the California wildfires. And then on the left, yeah, and then on the right, that's a illustration for a charity zine based on food from around the world. Yeah. And then this one's also for like Great Art Labs for their foodie show. And I would say if you like doing illustration, definitely go find galleries that you like and see if like the kind of calls that they ask for mesh with your style, and email the directors. It's great. I mean, I thought it was super fun. And then like for the foodie show, we all got these like recipe boxes with everybody's like illustrations in there, and then the recipe cards in the back. So fun. I also do game jams with my friends under So Good Games. You can find us at sogood.games. We make a lot of fun games, but a lot of our games end up having to do with themes of like death and passing over to the next life and like reincarnation and stuff. But we also make dumb games like this one. It's a dog dating sim, which has a secret bachelor if you guys ever want to play it. It's called I Rough You, and it was featured on the Nerdist and the Odyssey. And then we made that other game, Green Tea, this past year that was like a visual novel type thing as well. I also did UI for this game with the folks at Illumine Games. Yeah, it was called Interior Decorator, and basically you have like an aquarium and you can like pick up the coins that they poop out and then buy decorations for your aquarium. So yeah, Robyn's right. I don't know what I do a bunch of different things. But I think part of it is that like it's fun, and if you have fun, just do it. But enough about me. Sorry I rambled for so long, but I thought that, since, it's like the after times, COVID and all, there are some things that I wish I knew before I graduated that may be helpful. You can take my advice with a grain of salt, but I think be super, super helpful. If you ever get the chance to speak to an artist one-on-one, rather than asking what they work with, try to ask about why they made certain choices. A lot of times it just isn't that deep because they have years and years of building up a visual vocabulary that's like second nature to them, but you'll glean way more useful information on how to apply their thought process to your own work that way if you know why they're making certain decisions. But I mean, like, if you're gonna be like, hey, what kind of brushes are you using? I think that's valid too. But I think it's just like, there's like more you can apply from if you know what you're going to, like how to think about certain things and how to like process your work and be thoughtful about it. And on that note, I think you should start building up your visual vocabulary now, which is something I wish I did. So to do this, I would say absorb media as much as you can, and be sure to take in stuff like outside of what you make. So if you're into video games and you want to make video games, don't just reference video games. Pick up a hobby, go do archery or something, or maybe you're into crocheting. Pick up things outside of your field so that you can reference it into your own work. Build up a massive vocabulary of mental images and knowledge that you can pull in whenever you want. Do studies, but be thoughtful about your studies. Really think about what you're drawing and why you're drawing these lines to make that thing. Are you drawing what you see or what you think this object or scene or whatever should look like? And it'll make both you and your work stronger. Plus, it's like, you shouldn't, this is something that I'm guilty of, but I tend to do like art adjacent hobbies and like, oh my God, how can I monetize this? Sometimes it's healthy just to have hobbies for the sake of having hobbies. But it's also good whenever you can pull in like different things for your work. Like I know someone that does dragon dancing, like for Asian, like Lunar New Year's and stuff, and their work revolves around that. And I think it's amazing. Like there's just so much context outside of like, cars, what you see on ArtStation and stuff. Also, take care of your body, take care of yourself and your hands. Do stretches like you're 60-something years old, like you're really old and you're creaky, because you need to take care of yourself. Your work will still be there, but it won't exist if you can't take care of yourself. You do not have to suffer for your art. And that's not even just like your body, take care of yourself mentally, make sure that like you don't have to be depressed to make art. Obviously it comes for us, but you know, you should take care of yourself. You like love yourself, care about yourself, and do good wherever you can. No one lives in a bubble, and neither should your art. Even when we're social distancing, be aware and conscious of your choices and how they affect other people. Understand the way people can perceive your work, and actively try your best to be thoughtful and as purposeful as you can. Care about yourself, care about other people, and care about what you put into the world. Because, you know, art isn't, even if you make art for yourself, whenever it's put in another context, it's not just for yourself anymore. You're actively a part of someone else's life at that point. Also, go vote. You can go to votesaveamerica.com. There's still work to be done. Make sure you go double check to see if you're registered. And yeah, that's it. Sorry, that was a lot quicker than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, no problem. That's awesome. Yeah, thanks, Kytana. So let's open this up to the floor. So if everyone wants to unmute and turn on their videos, so we have some faces.
I'm sorry, that was like a lot faster than I thought it was going to be.
No, you're good. You're good. I have questions to definitely make up time, and I'm sure
of course
you do too. Cool. All right. So who would like to ask the first question? All right, silence. All right, so I know you talked a tiny bit about printmaking, so I'd like to go back to it. So this is a printmaking class.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I'd like to try to get everyone to connect printmaking to what they do outside, different areas. So can you talk about your experience with printmaking, and how did it influence or kind of change the way you think about making artwork or images in general?
So being a digital art major, definitely. So whenever you print stuff out, right, you're like, okay, so when I was in college, I would also do, not conventions, but I would do like zine fests and stuff where you would print stuff out and then sell them out to people. And I think it really helped my work to understand how things are printed. And then also lithography, love lithography. It really helped my draftsmanship. I'm gonna just say that. I think I became a better draftsman after printmaking because of the physical work into it. And like whenever you have more perspectives, right? So you have more things under, like tools under your belt, like if you do ceramics or if you do printmaking or if you do paper making, like there's just so much more knowledge there to pull. And it's the same thing as like building your visual vocabulary. And I think that helped my work a lot. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Definitely. All right, so I think we're even missing 2 people right now. So who would like to volunteer their question?
I'll go first.
All right,
awesome. Well, a question I have is like, what do you do to conquer like artist block, especially when like on days when you feel like really depressed or like days that you feel really stressed out?
I feel that. So to be honest, after I finished my thesis film before graduation, I like in that 6-month block, I had major artist block. I don't know if it was like artist block or if I was just straight up fatigued, you know? It was just like, I was so burnt out. And I think part of it has to do with maintaining your time and then also having a healthy relationship with your art. So when I was in college, I had this thing where I was like, my self-worth is my art. If I don't make art, no one's going to like me type of thing. And if I don't make good art, no one's gonna like me. And I feel like a lot of people can probably identify with that as well. But yeah, so some of it's just like being able to look outside of yourself and be objective about your relationship with art. Are you mentally blocked because you feel like you have to sit down and draw, or is it because you, I don't know, you feel like you lack like discipline? Because discipline is also part of it. Do you have to practice? And practicing is a normal thing. So maybe so what I do is there's this thing called like a Pomodoro timer, right? It's like the tomato timer, and you do like 25 minutes and then 5 minutes break and then 25 minutes and you get a long break after 4 rounds. So sometimes I will do studies and then I would just put myself on a timer. And then when I'm doing studies, I don't have to think so deliberately about what can I post online on my social media so that people can be like, wow, cool art. It's more about how can I make myself better, but without thinking too hard, right? But whenever you are doing studies, I would say you should be more deliberate and be thinking about why you're putting down those lines. But that's something that you do with discipline and practice, and eventually it becomes second nature. And then it's something that you don't necessarily have to force out. But I would say if you really don't feel it, you don't have to force yourself to draw. And at the end of the day, your art will still be there as long as you're healthy and you're fine.
Right, Katie, I think you unmuted before too. Or not?
Because you told me to.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. So take it away. Ask your question.
Oh God. Crap. I actually thought she was a printmaker. My bad. So
I mean,
all
I
of
did
my
some
questions.
printmaking if you have like printmaking questions. But I'm not Robyn.
Does it tie into your career at all? Because you like
Printmaking?
yeah, because I kind of want to do the stuff you're doing, but I'm a print major. It's fun, but I want.
What part? Can you clarify like which part of what I'm doing that you want to do?
Oh, mostly the animation and the just illustration.
Oh, you want to do illustration? Well, I think printmaking and illustration really do go hand in hand. I think the work you make as a printmaker is illustration. I think especially I think the most important part that I miss from college is the critiques. And like I said, my draftsmanship went way high after printmaking. But it also makes you more think more purposefully about like the layers that you're putting down, your process, and then it gives you more insight on how you can make illustrations. So you don't have to just draw a pencil on paper. You don't have to do just digital art. You can combine things. You can do multimedia. There's a lot of stuff that you can add onto each other. So yeah, I think printmaking and illustration really do go hand in hand. If you want to do animation, I don't know if they have like a direct correlation, but the draftsmanship really helps. I think if you ever want to do animation, your draftsmanship just gotta be top notch. Like that's the most important thing, right? So are you trying to like what part of animation? Are you trying to be like an animator? Are you trying to be like a storyboarder or storyboard revisionist? There's so many different like career paths, and it's important to think about, I guess, what you want to do, and then also to realize like maybe the career is not exactly what you have in your head about what the career actually is. So it's good to also talk about people in the field too. So yeah.
Okay.
What exactly in animation do you want to do?
I really want to be a storyboard artist or a revisionist, and then move on to be show creator or director.
That's a good pass. Yeah, there's lots of really great resources online for storyboard artists. Definitely your draftsmanship to be able to shorthand really well. I know people say that like as a storyboard artist you don't have to draw. That's not true. That's not true at all. it's more about being able to communicate ideas. So it's good to constantly have feedback from people. I would do studies of films and then maybe look up what the storyboards for like films that you like look like. I would read the Animator's Handbook by, I forgot his name, but read the Animator's Handbook. It's like there's like a walk cycle in the front. It's really good, very entertaining. I would read the whole book front to back, use it as your Bible, and then look up resources online. Lots of storyboard artists post their stuff online, and then I would go and look for mentorships. Like Nickelodeon does the annual mentorship. I would do, or like an apprenticeship. I would try to see what kind of avenues you can leverage, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, cut and dry. I need to work for Disney. Maybe you'll find a smaller studio, get some points there, pick up on, I don't know. I think you could do fine. Yeah, there's just so many options, and there's no one path to being anything. And I really do think that being able to say, I have done printmaking, I have done ceramics, I have done crocheting, I guess. I've done a bunch of different things, and I have all this perspective that I can leverage in my work now. I think that's a great thing. And to also be like, I'm eager to learn. And I think that's also like very compelling for employers.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Sorry, I've only done like 2 animation jobs. I think you're muted, Robyn.
My bad. Shelby or Tardisha, do you want to ask one of your questions?
Yeah, sure. I just got kicked off, like, so I dismissed all of that. So I'll have to go back and watch the recording. But so I'm interested in the like UX designer. Like, my friend from Canada majors in that, and I thought it was just, I was like, when you told me, I was like, that's crazy. That makes no sense. But so like, what did you major in? Because I think you mentioned it, but like, what did you major in to become that?
So I did not major in anything related to UX whatsoever. It's just a career I just happened to chance upon. I did digital art, and I was hired at Visa to be a multimedia designer. So I was supposed to be more animation oriented, and it just so happened that I ended up picking lots of UX roles. So I basically learned UX on the job. I'm working here for 2 years already. But yeah, I'm the sole UX designer on 5 different products on our team. And I also support lots of other teams. Yeah, I just so happen to have the skill set for the multimedia designer role. And then I emphasize how I'm so eager to learn and how I love human-based design. I love like making sure that I'm thinking about other people, and it just so happened to naturally fall that way. So I can't really give you like a solid answer on it, but if you have anything else about UX, I'm happy to answer about.
What was that process like, teaching yourself that?
Ooh.
Was it like going to school over again, or?
No, I learned it on the job. It was very fast paced, especially working at like a tech company, right? I work at like a financial tech company, so it was very fast paced. I ended up having, I think one of my first months there, I ended up being thrown into like user testing, and I ended up just having to observe what the other like UX people were doing and then just pick up from there. And then I did a lot of like independent research. I looked up a lot of things online, read a bunch of articles, educated it myself. And I think so at first I worked a lot based on my own assumptions, which is not a good thing to do. Instead of being like, oh, well, I think people are going to click this button because it's so big. It's like, you have to think, but will they actually, and what does it look like in the context of all these other things? And then, I don't know, it was a very different experience. I also had to learn how to communicate like the technical requirements. So like, what kind of technology are we using? What code are we using? What platform is it on? What does would do the browser support and stuff like that. So I ended up being like UX is kind of like a medium between like the developers and then the consumers or the clients and stuff. So I picked up a lot of it on the job. And it was pretty difficult at first, but it's honestly very fun. I enjoy it a lot. Do you want to be a UX designer?
I don't know.
That's fair.
When my friend mentioned it, and then I saw it again when I looked at your Instagram. So like I'm thinking about it, but I'll have to look more into it before I decide, I guess.
Yeah, if you ever want to talk about UX or what like a career in UX is like, you're welcome to send me an email, talk to me.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I will say, just because this is like a misconception that I had before going into UX, it's not just making buttons. It's kind of like the psychology of like how people are going to interact with your work. It's I don't want to say it like this, but you're basically manipulating people to like click where you want them to click and go where you want them to go, behave how you want them to behave. And it's kind of like, oh, I'm gonna pretend I'm you, and I'm gonna try to make you do what I want you to do with the site or product. Yeah.
All right, so going based off of your career, so how did you find out about the job? And then what did it take to apply? Even just like, did you have to have a portfolio? Do you have to have documents? Like, how did that all work out?
Did have a portfolio. I will say that, okay, so I'm the only multimedia designer at Visa. They basically made this role for me. So I don't think that the folks that hired me necessarily had an idea of like what kind of portfolio they were looking for. They were just looking for someone that had skill sets in like a wide like range, right? Also because the team that I was hired on was brand new, and I will say a brand new team is easier to get on than one that's already established, at least in technology. I don't know about like other places. I happened to get this job because my cousin emailed out like my resume to a bunch of random people, and then this one person came back and was like, this is exactly what we're looking for, and they called me. So I will say I'm very privileged and lucky, and not elved. I understand that my privilege is how I'm here today, but yeah, so it really is like kind of who you know and who happens to like see your stuff at the right time too. It doesn't hurt to like cold email people, I'll be honest, to be like, hey, do you have any positions? This is what I do. It's like, do you think I fit in your environment? Sorry, what was the rest of the question?
I mean, you pretty much answered it. Yeah, like so it's like your cousin basically cold call
email for me.
Emails. Yeah. Did you know that she was doing that, or did she have some connection to the companies?
Well, I asked her. Well, it was him actually. I asked him if he could like review my resume. He was just like, "Oh yeah," and then he just sent it out. So.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. New jobs come usually in like the weirdest and unexpected places. That's kind of
cool. For sure.
Chardisha, do you want to ask your question? Otherwise, I'll ask the people's questions who aren't here too.
She already answered mine.
All of them?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
That's why I didn't ask, because she answered them.
All right, cool. That works too. All right, so getting into other people's questions. Do you prefer drawing digitally or on paper?
Lately, digitally, because when I draw on paper, I start doing that thing where I like tap it to like undo.
Yeah. But I've done that to stone in grad school.
Yeah, I'm like, what's happening? But also just because because I also do freelance illustration on the side, so much easier to do revisions digitally than when I'm doing like a watercolor commission or something, and I'm like, God damn it, you're gonna make me white over this or redraw this. Which, by the way, if y'all do freelance, make sure you charge for revisions before they go crazy. 100%. Also, if you're doing illustration, I would recommend getting the the Illustrator's Guide for Business, I think it's called. I'm gonna have to double check. But if you're doing freelance, definitely track your business, do your contracts, learn at least a little bit on how to manage your stuff. And don't forget, the freelance tax is pretty high.
Freelance tax? What is that exactly?
So if you work as a freelancer, you have to pay a tax because you're doing like it's like a 1099 or something, and it's like higher than if you're paying like a normal like W-2 if you were employed by a company, because you're employed yourself.
Gotcha. So it's like a self-employment thing.
Yeah, it's a self-employment thing.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Which I had to learn that the hard way when I got a bunch of taxes to pay.
Oh yeah, definitely. All right, so going into the next ones, I think there's a few that kind of connect together. I want to go back to some of your undergrad work because,
Sure.
I mean, even as like a second year student, like you always had ideas. So how did you find themes or subject matter that you were wanting to work on?
I was depressed. I have which I'm gonna say this again. You do not have to be depressed to make art. But I also have, I guess, complicated relationships with my family and stuff, and so I think that's why I made lots of work about that. And I think you'd see if I like went chronologically that like my art went more colorful as like I think I got mentally healthier. I absorbed lots of media as a child, played lots of video games, watched lots of anime. I did a lot of like different things, and I was very much into like, I don't know. So I went through this like period of like hating that I was Vietnamese, and then in college I went through this like renaissance of like I want to embrace my culture again type of deal. And so it just ended up being like a culmination of all of that I was like pulling from. Yeah. I'm also like a stream of consciousness type person, I think. So whenever I like hear something, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm associating it with this. And I think that's part of like building the visual vocabulary. And then also just like, you know, if you're reading books, you're like, oh, that goes with this and this goes with that. And this reminds me of these things. So I don't know, it feels kind of nice. And it's kind of like how, you know, whenever someone sees Waluigi, they'll like send me a picture of Waluigi and they'll be like, hey, this reminded me of you. And I feel like that's how it is with me in like art when I'm like thinking of ideas. That was like super out of context, but it was like the first thing I could think of.
No, you're good. Yeah, because the next question was how did your work develop over time, which
Yeah,
definitely goes along with that.
yeah.
Do you have any tips for developing a body of work or finding a style?
See, okay, so I think the style question is kind of complicated because I think that you shouldn't necessarily go out and look for a style, because then I feel like at that point you're forcing it, and then you fall into the trap of like copying all your influences, right, instead of getting inspired by your influences. I think your style is a result of the things that you both like but also are bad at. See, right? So like in this picture, I'm terrible at drawing hands. I did it anyway, but I'm terrible at drawing hands, and I'm terrible at drawing certain things, and I ended up using the hair to hide certain things that I am bad at drawing that maybe I'm not so bad at now. It's what I guess you, at least for me, it was like things that I avoided and things I liked. And then it's also pulling inspiration. So when you see art that you like, I think about it and I'm like, what do I like about this art? What is it about this person's work that speaks to me? And then how can I pull that into my own work without directly copying? And then it's also very important to make sure you're pulling from multiple sources all the time. Make sure I think this goes back to like the absorbing media, right? Go look at lots of art, go look at lots of movies, go watch a lot of anime, go play lots of video games, go read books and do archery, go play a sport if you're into that, I guess. I don't know, it's like I feel like your style is something that comes naturally and I don't think you can force it.
Yeah, good answer. So I guess just kind of like following up with like the image that we have right in front of us. how do you come up with just the designs, or like what makes you put like two and two together? Because I know like there's a few prompts that I remember like Vern having with like Imagine Landscape and stuff like that. But like, how did you come up with like the imagery itself? Like the one that we're looking at now, it's like it has these sort of leaf-like feathers and like the hair that's actually like a negative space and the thread. So like, what makes you pull from the certain like images in order to create the whole?
So I had like this dramatic, like thematic thing that I was doing at the time where I did lots of strings and lots of like angsty, oh god, my family controlling type of stuff. And I think that's where that came from. I did lots of thematic strings, and then like I guess the whole I feel so pretentious saying this now, like looking back at my old art. But it's kind of like I don't know if I'm sorry, I'm coming up with a blank here. Yeah, I think part of it was just aesthetically. I liked the like negative space hair type thing, and then also just the like vulnerability of like this girl trying to cut these strings away from her, but her scissors are broken and she's looking back at you in this like field that has like literally nothing else. Yeah, I don't know if I can speak to how I made this image, because also it was a very long time ago.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a long time ago. No, I was curious because I know like people get kind of like roadblocks and then they don't know where to pull from, and a lot of people have difficulty of like developing backgrounds. I think that's like one of the most major things is like if you can develop a character that comes more naturally, but then like how do you create its surroundings and like how do you set the mood?
So like, something I read recently is the thing with backgrounds is that people think of it as an afterthought, right? It's like, oh, I want to draw the character because that's the exciting part. But, you know, especially if you're someone that likes to write stories, that likes to do like comic-esque stuff, or if you want to tell stories in your illustrations, the background should not be a secondary thought. It's part of your character. Your character does not live in a void. It doesn't, I mean, it's fine if you draw it like that. I do that all the time. But it's your environment is part of your character. And if you have trouble doing backgrounds, I would say you should start with like dioramas, right? So do like a section of a place. There's lots of really great like I would look up background painters and illustrators from cartoons and stuff. Like the background painters for I have a friend that works on like Ball Masters and stuff that does really great backgrounds, and it's storytelling in itself. Environmental storytelling is a thing, and it makes your work stronger. And if you think about it in like so if you have a character, right, and you're really good at doing characters, think about what kind of world does your character live in, and you don't necessarily have to do like a full like 1920 by 1080 background. You can just do like a little square, and then as you get more comfortable, build out from there. And then if you have to, like, do lots of really dark blacks, and then it'll make your work look really nice because it looks like you have way more than you do. And just start small and then work up from there. There's also really great like Discords and stuff for background art. I would go find one where people talk about it and they leave tips. There's lots of great digital art hacks. If you really need to, go ahead and do some photo bashing. There's no shame in photo bashing as long as you're pulling from multiple resources and you're not tracing and you're not copying someone's work. Or there's even like 3D modeling. You can do SketchUp. There's the like Google thing. If you know how to 3D model, you can throw it into Maya, just draw the shapes. Yeah, it does. I mean, and then also like perspective. I feel like that's very daunting for some people. As long as it looks right, you don't have to be all on the lines.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, definitely. Let's see. I'm gonna pull your website back up. Does anyone have any questions right now, just off the bat? No? Okay. So with your this piece was from your thesis, right? So this is from the film?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So could you tell us a little bit about what's going on?
So my film was called Bankan, which is like it's a Vietnamese dish. It's like noodles and stuff. My film was about a girl whose mom died, and she's trying to recreate a dish that her mom made, and it just doesn't taste the same. And I felt really bad because after the thesis show, someone came up to me and was just like, this made me so sad because my mom just died. And I was like, I'm so sorry. My mom did not die.
So there's like kind of like a theme of having food in your work.
Yes.
I know, like
definitely.
Hanging out, like you're like, okay, you can't go to this place. We definitely have to go to this place. And then like it turned out to be closed or whatever, and it was like running around.
Was that when we went to New Orleans?
Was that?
Was that when we went to New Orleans when we did the like, was it escape room thing?
Yeah. We dressed up and looked terrible. Yeah. So like, what's your interest in food and I guess like making art about it?
So I think, and I love food. I don't know how you could not like food, but I think that food is one of those things where people really get together, you know? It's like it's a meeting point for people. I grew up, so I have 6 siblings, and obviously my parents, but I have 6 siblings, I have a big family, and I feel like because we have so many people, right, there's just so many clashing personalities, and the only time that we really get together is when we're eating. And I think that's why I love working about food, and I feel like it's something that's universal that people can all connect on. And you know, it's like the meals that you've eaten, and I feel like food is a love language, right? So when I have friends over, I'm always cooking for them because I feel like, you know, this is how I express how much I care and my love. And I think that the same goes in my work. Like I think that these things are what brings people together and shows, I don't know, I this is like I guess the thing for me is just like I love people being together. And yeah, I think we can all agree food's pretty great.
Yeah, definitely.
I also have a food Instagram if y'all ever want to follow that one.
Where it's just your food or like illustrations?
Yeah, no, I like cook food.
So that's like your hobby?
Yeah, it's my hobby. It used to be just lunches, but since COVID, I can't make any lunches anymore. To be like lunch boxes and stuff. It was great.
Yeah.
I used to wake up super early just to make this.
Wow. So talking about COVID, so you're working at home, like
Yes.
is
I'm
it
probably
like,
gonna be working at home till like next year. Probably like summer next year.
oh, that's wild. Like have they told you anything about like the expectations of it, or is it like you just get to do free reign?
Well, I mean, yeah, we definitely have security that looks at my computer.
Oh yeah, okay.
I mean, they don't like monitor it, but if you
Yeah.
like open something that you're not supposed to open, they'll message you and be like, "Hey, don't do that."
Oh really?
Or yeah, because they get like notifications. Also, because I work for Visa, we're very tight on security. There's like other things like you're not allowed to like put a USB into your computer and stuff.
Interesting. Yeah, I have no idea what it's like to work for like yeah.
I mean, it's very different.
Yeah.
I mean, I would definitely say that working at a tech company is a privilege in and of itself. We have so much flexibility. And then during these times, it's like job stability. I have like job security because of it. And I like feel like super stuck up saying this, but like it's very calming to know that I don't have to worry about my job, which I did when I like was a barista or whatever. Also health insurance.
Yeah, definitely. That's a big I mean, you're also working in like a pretty big city, so what made you
definitely.
transition? I guess your family's from Houma, right?
Yeah, my family's from Houma, Louisiana. We come from a really small town. I'm from down the bayou. I don't have a bayou accent, but I am from down the bayou. My dad is a fisherman. My mom works at a hotel. Yeah, I think it's pretty good return on investment, I guess. I ended up quitting my job as a barista and I cold moved to Austin and I hung out at my cousin's house which is why he sent out my resume, because I was living on his couch for like, what was it, like 2 months or something before I found a job, which is, I'm gonna repeat this, I'm very privileged, very lucky, and that's how I got here.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I was kind of wondering how you got from Louisiana to Texas. And I mean, like,
yeah, I cold moved here.
That's wild. That seems risky, but that's awesome.
I mean, I was very privileged to have family out here.
Yeah.
And then I think one of those things, whenever you come from a southern state, right? Like you come from Louisiana or you come from Mississippi or something, like there's just no hubs for like the kind of jobs that, at least like there's no hubs for animation or video games or even technology. Like it was like one of those things where I felt like I had to leave in order to actually do something with my career. Also, I'm not like trying to tell y'all like you have to leave your city, but if that's what you want to do, then you can. And there's options outside of like moving to Los Angeles. You don't have to move to Los Angeles to do things. Especially now that most companies are realizing, hey, you can do everything remotely now.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Does anyone else want to ask any questions before before we end this? Give you all a second to think. Enjoy the silence.
I have great general advice if y'all into that.
It's true. No, you've given like a lot of really good advice, because I was gonna ask like what tips you have for students. Any advice?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's just lots of things I wish I knew before I graduated. I felt like, so after graduation, I realized I did not have a portfolio ready for the kinds of jobs that I wanted at the time. Like it was very broad, and I think that's just something you have to think about. Depending, it's like a personal thing. I feel like it's like, I guess if you want to work at Pixar, you have to make Pixar level work, and you have to be very objective about yourself, and you have to be able to separate yourself from your work. Yeah, I think that was just something I had to deal with, was that like I realized very late that I was not portfolio ready for the kinds of jobs that I wanted, and so I ended up in a career that thankfully worked out for me, but wasn't what I expected. Also, embrace the unexpected. Don't feel bad if you don't end up where you want it to be. Life is not linear, neither is your career.
That is very true.
Yeah. I mean, I guess life is kind of.
What's that?
So I was like, maybe life is kind of linear, but your career is not linear.
Yeah. I never expected to be in Mississippi, or Louisiana for that matter. It was very random. Yeah. So, anyone else have any questions? You can always pull them up.
Are y'all like close to graduation, or like what year is this class?
We're a stat class, so it's like we've got one person. Some people I'm unfamiliar with. We've got at least 2 people who I believe are in their final year, so they're seniors. Kimberly and Shelby, I'm not 100% sure where you're at. We have a lot of transfers at DSU, so a lot of people arrive here either being in their second or third year. So it's a little unusual that like we're not that familiar with some of our students, which is kind of strange.
Yeah.
I guess talking about your portfolio, from a teaching standpoint, what could teachers do to better prepare you? And I'm like, I know it's not like there's no complete strategy. Everyone has a different path, and we can't control as much as like we try to prepare everyone for it. Like no like set formula, but
see, I feel like that's kind of hard just because there's so many, I don't know, because everybody has a different, like career path, right? They want different things out of what they're getting from you. I would definitely say, I don't know, I feel like I learned a lot of stuff on my own. But I mean, I guess it's like a personal thing. Make sure you have a website. Make sure you have like not a Tumblr. Please don't do a Tumblr. And make sure whenever you have your stuff on social media, you have a link to your portfolio in your bio all the time. Whenever ADs or directors are looking at your work, they're gonna try to look for your portfolio first so they can send to other people. And if they don't see it, they're gonna skip you. I think talking about the industry is super important. I think that's something I missed when I was in school, was that like you need to know what to expect after school, right? So if you want a career in printmaking, what does that look like? Do you have to join a print club, a print community print shop? Is there like, is the only option after printmaking being a teacher, or is it like just residencies? Like, is there more outside of that? I feel like that's something that like just like knowing your options. And then it's one of those things, I guess it's a good thing you have such a small class because it's easier to tailor those like career paths, right? It's like, do you want to be a resident, or did you want to do something else? Also, Adobe does really great residencies. If you wanted to do like printmaking for Adobe type deals, like you have to like obviously pitch it and stuff. But yeah, I mean, there's like lots of options. I think it's just one of those things where it's like, do you know what you don't know type of thing to prepare for the real world. I also think one thing at LSU, we were really bad at critiques. I felt like we could have done better critiques.
Well, what was bad about them?
Well, I don't know about your class, but my other classes, it was just like everyone was just so nice, and it was just like no one was allowed to really critique. That was just me though. It was like my digital art classes. It was just like, oh, you did a good job.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like the people who were there at the time, because I remember you and Emily.
Oh
and,
yeah.
and then I can't remember anyone specifically. There was someone who did like throat singing.
Oh, I remember.
But I don't remember if you were in class with him.
No, I remember him. I don't think I was in class with him, but I remember him.
Yeah, I remember he was in digital art.
Yep.
It was interesting times.
Yep.
Characters in university will definitely like stay with you for a
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So like, I guess, why do you think that they were too nice? Like, when you started your like job, did people start like giving you like much harsher feedback, or?
No, I wish they would. I miss critiques. I feel so critiques is like where you grow, right? It's where you can have someone else, and obviously you don't have to take every critique to heart. It's one of the things I feel like, okay, so one of the things that I wish I learned was being able to discern which critiques to listen to and which ones are like, this is my judgment, I'm going to trust my judgment type of things. But it's always good to have multiple eyes on your stuff. I don't get as much critiques now, at least from other designers. All of my critiques come from like stakeholders and clients and stuff now. So people that don't necessarily do design. It's just like those, I miss critique. And I think I wish I learned how to speak better in critique. I wish I was better at critiquing. Like, I wish I was better at being able to look at something and being like, you know, this association with this, maybe you should think about it differently. Or this is your stronger piece of, this is stronger, and maybe you can offer this alternative type of deal. Yeah, I think it was just like, maybe less so that I wish it was like meaner, but more that I wish I learned how to do it better.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think I'm getting it. Or do you want to say something? Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, because like the one thing about printmaking, and like this is where I mean we really had contact, is that printmaking sometimes gets in the weeds about technique, and like technique is super important, especially for like the first 2 years. And again, like I left, I went to go teach when you were, I think, in your third and fourth year. I may have been there third year. I can't remember.
I think you left my fourth year.
Fourth year. Okay.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's like once you finally get to like a more upper level, then you finally get to start like really digging into critiques and like asking like deeper questions. But it does take like a lot of people like a long time to get there.
I think also too, it's just like a lot of those were like intro classes or like a mixed bag of people, and so a lot of people just didn't care.
Yeah.
And I think you can see that in their work too.
Yeah, unfortunately. But I mean, it is always good to have like a nice support group too, because like.
Oh, for sure, definitely.
I mean, like you and Emily were always working together, and I feel like you both like pushed each other's work like further, because I know like she did like the rocking chair when you did this one, and I feel like I could see like both improving at the same time, and it's like having that friend there with you, I think like it really does help. develop?
Yeah, she used to kill all the cockroaches in the print lab for me.
She used to what?
Kill the cockroaches that I saw in the print lab. I'm definitely afraid of bugs. I would be like, Emily, and she would come out of nowhere and kill them.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah, we don't have as many cockroaches here. We're not in a basement. We're on the second floor. But
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
yeah.
You really moved up in the world. Like, literally.
Yeah, but I mean, like, we're doing this class distant, so we're doing like we're in the relief project right now, so we're gonna be doing like rubbings with like hand printing with like spoons and barons.
Ooh, fun.
So it's geared more towards like what you can do after graduation. So we just did a bunch of zines, and so we're gonna be having a critique once it gets like sent through snail mail.
Yeah.
And you used to do like a lot of zines too, because like
I did lots of zines. I did lots of zine fests. I would say if you can, you should go sell at a zine fest. Everybody's super fun. It kind of has like a punkish atmosphere. Very fun though. And then it's like lots of like indie people. There's lots of trading. It's a really good community. Like I like love like the like talking to like my table mates and stuff that like are right next to me. And then whenever someone's like, I'm gonna go grab some food, do y'all want some, to like the entire row? and I think it's really fun. I mean, it's not like as lucrative as going to like a convention, but it's fun. You make some money, maybe. Especially if you print it yourself. It's a good atmosphere. I think you should all try it if you can, if that's something you're interested in.
Yeah. So how did you have time? Sorry, I keep asking questions.
No,
I swear I'm like almost done, but I'm also kind of catching up on with you because I'm like I haven't spoken to you forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like you came in with like your sketches that you were gonna do prints with, but yet you always had like these zines, and I know that they were like some fun side project. How did you find time to do like your personal work in addition to all the assignments? And I know you were talking about like mental health, and yes, that is definitely definitely a factor, but
truth be told, lots of the zines, it was because I'd be like, oh, I want to do a zine fest, and I'll sign up for it, and then it'll be like a month out, I'll be like, oh shit, I signed up for a zine fest, and then and then I'll be like, okay, I still have time, and then 2 weeks before I'll be like, oh shit, I really have a zine fest, and then I spend like time just like cranking out zines instead of like working on it. It was a lot more chaotic than I would like to admit. I think like my very first group show, which I did in New Orleans at Eiffel Society, which was like this piece of the Eiffel Tower that was like shipped to New Orleans or something, and they like turned into an art gallery type deal, which was really cool. I procrastinated so hard. It was embarrassing. I did 2 paintings the night before the thing, and it was very shameful, but I was like a freshman in college, so I will forgive myself. But yeah, I have learned time management since then, but when I was doing personal work, when I would do like zine fairs and like conventions or whatever, I would literally just pump them out like a week or 2 before. Yeah.
Did you have any opportunities come from that, like later on with like collaborations or?
Yeah, so I did somewhere for like restaurants in New Orleans. I think for Zine Fest, it was mostly just like I got to know lots of people. Yeah, and then like I'm gonna say this right now: don't network for the sake of networking. People can tell. You should make genuine friendships because those are the people that are actually going to recommend you to things if they actually know you. Sorry, that was like an aside, but yeah, sorry, what was the question?
I don't know, but that was really good advice because I was like, yeah, networking is tough,
No,
and a lot of times
really
it feels forced.
Yes, for sure. And you know, you can definitely, at least I know that I can tell, and I know that like my peers, like I have a friend that works at Blizzard, and we went to like a game jam, and I remember them like the students would come and they would be like, I don't know where she works, so they would just talk to my friend that works at Blizzard type of deal. And it's like you can tell, and it's one of those things where it's like it's good to be friendly and good to introduce yourself, but if you want to really network, be nice to your peers, your classmates, great connections themselves. They have great insights on your work. They know who you are. They know what your work is like. You don't know what their career is going to be afterwards. Obviously, don't be nice to them just because you think, oh, they might be a potential job lead or something. But, you know, it doesn't hurt to be kind to people and to make genuine friendships. Yeah, don't just see their follower count above their head and be like, hey.
Very true. Yeah.
Yeah.
The question was, did going to the conferences and festivals lead to opportunities?
Kind of, yeah. I think I kind of answered that.
But it was also kind of like a fun thing to do. And
yeah, it was mostly just fun.
Okay.
But you never know. I think it's one of those things where it's like, pursue the things you like, and then things will just come eventually. Which is also another thing where it's like, don't put work in your portfolio that you don't like doing. If you don't like drawing isometric views, don't put it in your portfolio, because I can guarantee you 100% people are going to ask you to do that. That's why I have to do graphic design at work sometimes.
It's because you put graphic design work, but you didn't actually want to do it.
Yeah. So now I had to delete it so quick. I'd be like, nope, no one's asking me for graphic design ever again.
That's a good tip. That's definitely a good tip.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, that's wild. Yeah, because people will always try to get more out of you than what you are comfortable doing, even. So
yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Just one. I don't want to kill the mood, but
You're fine.
did you ever feel like you were not as good as your peers or other people, and how did you deal with that sense of inferiority?
Yes, all the time. And so that's a very good question. I definitely feel that, and I know lots of my peers feel that, and I feel like a lot of people in general feel what you feel. So don't feel alone in that, you know, I don't know. I think part of it that I don't know about you, but personally for me, that like sense of inferiority, right? I had to be more, this is where therapy helps too. But I had to be more objective about why I felt that way. I had to challenge myself in why I felt that way. So is it am I envious of them, or is this like a thing with like my self-worth where I'm like, oh, maybe I'm not worth that much because, and then there's like these things where like, oh, the 16-year-old is so much better at drawing than me, even though I'm like a deck almost, I don't know, I'm only 24, but I'm so much older than them. And it's like, I think I had to come to terms with that. This was like a unhealthy thing for me, and that I had to challenge myself. I had to be like, why am I feeling like this? And what can I do to not feel like this? What can I do to like garner something more positive about it? And I think I've taken it more, I think because I have a pretty aggressive personality, I think I've taken it more as a challenge to be like, you can do that, well, I can do it too. I feel like I take things kind of chaotically in stride, but yeah, I definitely understand how you feel. I felt that way. I still feel that way sometimes. Yeah, and I think it's normal. I think that the answer is different for everyone. I'm sorry you feel that way. Yeah, I don't really have a better answer. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And I feel like, just to put my experience into it, I like the feeling doesn't ever go away.
Yeah.
Like I teach, but there's still times where I'm like, how can I improve, or like, what am I doing wrong that's not connecting with other people? So it's like, even if you're working with a client, it's like, this is the best thing I've ever done. This is amazing. And then you like bring it to someone else and they're like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't understand. And it's like, it's just like developing like your communication skills, I think, like definitely.
Oh, for sure.
That. But like, there's always going to be challenges. Like, things are non-linear. Like, there's going to be different things coming at you from all sides. And I mean, I think everything, career, just life, it's a challenge. And it's like, you just have to kind of like take it in stride.
Yeah, I agree. I will say though, for like work, like my day job type thing, I've learned to separate myself from my work. And so I don't feel those, I think should be true for all like professional work you do. Do not attach yourself to your work. You need to have a distance from the work that you do, because it will change. Your clients will have different opinions, and it's not about you anymore. It's about what they want. And you need to be able to not feel hurt when people critique you, especially on professional stuff, or if they ask you to completely change something, or if they don't use it at all. It's just like the fact of life. You just gotta have the healthy distance, social distance, 6 feet, maybe 18, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. So with working at home, I swear this will be my last question.
You're fine.
So with working at home,
It's like the most social contact I've had in a while.
Me too. I've seen like 2 students in person and it's been like bliss. And now I'm like back online, which this class is great, but it would be ideal to be in person.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you separate your sort of work life when you're still in the same place? And I know this goes for students because it's like they're working in a dorm.
Yeah.
They might not get out in a day. So how do you kind of separate yourself and still like give yourself the time?
Oh, it's definitely very challenging. I work in a small 1-bedroom apartment, and me and my boyfriend share one desk. So, well, actually now he uses the desk. I used to use the desk. Now I work at like the like counter, like at our kitchen and stuff. So basically, at first I was very unproductive. I had to learn how to work from home. I've started doing the Pomodoro timer again. So I do like the cycles, and then I just make sure I hit like my cycle goal, I guess. But it also ensures that I make sure I take my breaks. And then once it's done, it's like, okay, I'm going to drop my work, no more. Unless I have like midnight calls or something with like the team across the world or something like that. But I set very like strict times to like get off. And then I'm very lucky that our company is very like strict on like work-life balance. They're like, don't work too much type of deal. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool that you have a company like that. I don't hear.
Yeah,
they're
very impressed with the response.
That's cool. Yeah, I used to have a friend who was working in IT, and it seems like he worked like all the time. And because he had the ability to like have a computer, he just like continually worked, even though again.
Yeah, it's a very slippery slope to just sit and just work all day.
Yeah. Definitely.
Now I've just like, but then I was like, I make dinner too, so I just like. Once work is done, I make dinner, and then by the time I'm done making dinner, I've already had like the mental separation. Also, don't work in your bed. Your bed is for sleeping. I mean, unless that's like the only place you have to work. But at least for me, my bed is for sleeping. And when I used to work in my bed, I would just be like, oh, I'm just gonna keep working. I'm already sitting here. My back hurts, but it's okay. Do your stretches, y'all. I have carpal tunnel now. It's bad.
Is it from being on a computer so much, or is it just from like?
It's from college. I got it. I got diagnosed in college. It was from drawing and I guess computer a lot because of digital art, obviously.
As well. And everyone laughs when I tell them to do their stretches.
No, I'm so serious. I sound so old. I'm so serious. Do your stretches. I have like the worst posture when I'm working too. I have like both my legs propped up and I'm like on a stool and I'm like working or I'm like drawing or something, and then I'm like, oh man, my back hurts. I wonder why. and it really gets on you, especially because like, you know, your body is your tool. Like this is how you do work. Take care of yourself. Also go vote.
Good plug.
Double check to make sure you're registered. If you want to, you can text RBG to 50409 to text your senators.
All right, do we have any last questions?
Also, if you all have any like extra questions, you're welcome to email me later.
All right, so I guess that is it. So Kytana, thanks for joining us.
Of course.
It's been like really beneficial. I mean me, but I think also for everyone else, just to hear someone else's perspective, especially because you've been like a recent graduate, and so the students here are going to be in that same sort of position in like 1 to 2 years, maybe even 3. But I know it's a really tough spot. So especially now with COVID, like,
Yeah.
I think it's really important to like keep up skills, especially like preparing for a portfolio. And it's really nice to see yours because I mean, you feel like you said you didn't like prepare, but like, I mean, it's really nice and cohesive, and your website is also awesome.
Thank you. I need to redo it.
With more work or what?
I need to restructure it. I need to take off some of those things. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Oh, okay. Like just okay.
Yeah, I also need to do like
down
an actual UX portfolio, but it's fine. It'll come eventually.
Yeah, no.
Have a website, y'all. Have a website. Cold call some art directors. Think about, I don't know.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. So if anyone has any questions,
this is my info up here. Or down here. Oh, down over here? I don't know.
At least for me.
some direction.
Yeah.
Y'all need me.
Katie, you unmuted. Do you have a question or?
No, I was just gonna say thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Before we left.
Thank you.
All right. Well, yeah, I guess that concludes our talk. If you have any questions, again, you can email Kytana, follow her on Instagram. And if you have any questions for me, let me know and I'll help you out. I have office hours till 5 today. So, all right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.